So I've always recorded the demos for the band, and it's definitely evolved over the years. It's kind of become more about the songwriting than the actual recording. It's kind of just a tool. The demo recordings are kind of just a tool for working on the songs for us at this point. Back in the old days, it was more like we would go to the warehouse and all kind of sit around as a band with all our instruments and hash through the songs and, you know, play them over and over and over again and get all the little intricacies figured out that way. But as we evolve, it's more like we'll just kind of record a rough idea and then have something that sort of everyone can use as a reference to listen to and suggest, you know, oh, let's change this way, let's change this that way. So the demoing for the band is more of like kind of a sketch pad to sort of have an outline of what the song is kind of going for, rather than keeping any really specific parts and saying, oh, that's the perfect guitar sound. It's never about getting the perfect guitar sound, it's about coming up with the really good guitar parts. So I would say that the demos have kind of evolved in the way that we just kind of are writing more in this environment where we can just record an idea and then we can all listen back to it and have our suggestions and stuff to that. In the old days, it was definitely more of like, what we're playing right now is exactly what it's going to be on the record. And now it's more of, it's going to be something like this, but we don't really know what it is until it's actually done. So as you kind of move through the demos, it becomes a two-part process, because that first part of the process is just sort of using the studio just as a reference and being able to sketch ideas out and listen to them and compare them, because it's much easier to let your mind float and come up with more stuff when there's something that you're already listening to, as opposed to having to play it. So it's kind of a listening kind of thing, so you can kind of regurgitate ideas and keep creating. And then that's pretty much the demo process. It's more for songwriting. And then after the songs are established, then things kind of switch, and then you kind of have to switch your hat around, and you have to think about, now we're actually recording the sounds. We're actually going for the tones that are actually going to be the real recordings. And that's kind of a different part of it, and that's pretty much what we did once we got to Chicago. We had pretty much the songs all worked out for this record, sitting here right in this room. But a very rough recording, you know, one microphone and just a scratch vocal and, you know, only a couple microphones on the drums kind of thing. But when we get up to actually record in Chicago is when we actually listen to all the tones and take our time and pick this guitar. And, oh, you know, that cymbal's a little too high-end, so let's use a different cymbal. And you get very specific about the actual sounds of all the different instruments. And that's kind of a different thing. It's more like taking a picture of what we're doing very specifically, as opposed to just kind of like rough sketching it in the demoing. So that's kind of the difference. I'm always the guy in the band that gets really involved in the recordings ever since the beginning. Even from the first times, I would, you know, never leave the control room and stay there and try to absorb as much as I could. And we've been really lucky. We've gotten to make records with, you know, dudes that make records all the time, like a Howard Benson or a Mike Rosen. You know, these guys made massive records. And I definitely tried to learn a lot. In the early days, it seems like we were more allowed to kind of do whatever we wanted. We could just come in with our song idea and record it pretty much verbatim, and not really a lot of production or changes really happen. In our later records with Warner Brothers, we definitely felt that it was, they weren't saying, you should do this on this song. They weren't suggesting specific things, but kind of giving us an overall vibe of, you know, you should kind of push the record in this direction, that would be good. And if you kept the record in this fast punk rock horn direction, that would be bad. But now that we have decided to forge our own path there and start Sleep It Off Records and finance records ourselves and release records ourselves and have 100% creative control for real, I think it's really evident that on the last record, on GNVFLA, that it's got more of the Less Than Jake character in there, more of our personality, and I was definitely allowed to be more involved and on top of every part, and sort of doing the best to squeeze the best out of the songs and the parts. It's like there'll be a rough idea for a horn part, and then I just kind of squeeze it out and just like, oh, take that little note out and put that note in there, and just these minute changes. And that's really like kind of producing. It's kind of the fine sanding on something, you know what I mean? Like that last shellac that makes it all smooth. We're definitely more in a position where we're allowed to do whatever we want now, and I think that it's going to be obvious in all of our future recordings that, you know, the stuff that's going to come out from the band is going to be stuff that we're writing like from the heart. Back in the old days, we used to record on half-inch analog tape. It was an 8-track machine, and Pezcore was the first time that we recorded on the digital audio, and that was on ADATs, on basically VCR tapes, and those used to be 8 tracks apiece also. And we've done some records on actual 2-inch analog tape. It seems like pretty much every band is recording these days on a computer using Pro Tools, and it's kind of a strange give-and-take kind of thing. It's an amazing tool that has a lot of power that can be used very well, but it can also be easily abused, and it can turn into a crutch. And I think that when a band goes in to record and they know that they have this technology that they can fix every single thing on the record, that they still have to have some allegiance to the song, and kind of the song needs to shine through beyond all of the technology and all of the ones and the zeros and all the fixing. So it's both a great thing, and it can be a great thing, but it can be a dangerous thing when people depend on it too much. So try to have an analog mind in your digital world and everything will be fine.